Bienvenidos, fans of the hottest entertainment on the planet. Jaimé En Fuego here, and this is another review coming at y'all straight from Fantasia International Film Festival. That is Reezy, my second year covering the event, and this is my review for day 4. And so this actually made its world premiere yesterday, and it was a one-time only sort of thing. So unless you were there to check it out in the theater, you're just gonna have to keep an eye out for Tight Lettuce. Yeah, interesting title, right? I said that when I previewed this as one of my most anticipated for the introductory weekend of the festival, which runs from now, as of this recording, through Sunday, August 2nd, up in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So, yeah, Tight Lettuce, what is this about? Well, it is based on a true story, and it is actually directed and also co-written by Harrison Houde, I want to say his name is. And so he is a younger Canadian actor. He's appeared in things like, I think Diary of a Wimpy Kid, they said, was the first like feature role, but he'd done some television work, and he was in, I don't know if he had a big role in it, because I didn't recognize his face like immediately, but perhaps it's just eluding me. Summer of '84, which is by the RKSS guys, who I freaking love, you know, back to Turbo Kid, and I mean, those guys just kick ass. And yeah, so you know, all kinds of cool Great White North connections, and so it's very befitting that the directorial debut from Harrison would be making its premiere at Fantasia. But this is not a genre film, this is a straight up dramedy, and I love films like this that have just, I mean, a very just proper full scope sort of outlook on what life, especially when it comes to things like addiction and family and things of that nature. I mean, it's not all grim and doom and less than zero or anything, but it's not like, to quote Swingers, puppy dogs and ice cream either. You know, it does in all likelihood lie somewhere in the middle, especially if you have an endearing character like our main character Joel, played by Dakota Dalby, I want to say. So he actually co-wrote the script with Harrison, and you can really tell based on the amount of emotion that he injects into this performance as somebody who has. They have a connection with their father, but it is not as deep as Joel, our lead in this, really wants it to be, because of the fact that his father has been dealing with opioid addiction for a number of years. They kind of give the vibe that it's been decades, ever since back when he was still married to Joel's mother. They have since divorced, but like the addiction goes even before Joel was born, so it predates even that. And so they do delve into the history of the fact that the two of them were using together, and mother got clean and father did not. And father is, you know, he's a very just whimsical free spirit, but he is also very deep in the trenches of addiction. And the performance by, I just want to double check on the letterbox the name of the actor, Emmanuel Bilodeau, French-Canadian actor, I'm assuming, because there is both French and English spoken in this film. And yeah, though, I gotta say, he is... I'm not going to say he's the heart and the soul of it, but he is what brings the most comedy and the levity to the scenario. And just, he's not just a one-dimensional druggie, you know? There is so much just love and compassion, and even like the fact that he still yearns for, you know, his ex-wife, Joel's mother, and their interactions the few times, like when they get together for Joel's birthday at one particular point, and he is just dead set on still winning her back at some particular point. But Joel is also dead set on... especially since he's engaged, and, you know, just there's the discussion of maybe having a family with this woman that he loves and everything. And so, but he really isn't sure if he wants to do that until he can really just make sure that his dad is in a good place. I mean, he has this house. I believe they say at one particular point that he owns the house that his dad lives at, but there's some complications without getting into too much detail, but it's kind of a squat, like flophouse kind of situation, and, you know, the city is intervening at one point, and there's various other things going down. But he has his druggy buddies, and once again, none of them are portrayed as just absolute skis, no redeeming qualities. You know, these are multifaceted, you know, like multi-dimensional characters. They're real people. And I mean, there's a couple instances where they're squashing grapes. You know, Joel's dad, Bodie, I'm trying to remember what the actual name of the character is, or how it was properly pronounced. But yeah, so they're squashing grapes, these three addict dudes, so they can get enough scrizzle so they can go and get a fix, man. And without getting into too much detail, Joel's pop is not really using his fentanyl, which... yeah, he's not really using it in a more traditional sense, and I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but it's going to be maybe tough to watch for certain people, especially. I mean, I know we talk about trigger warnings on, on FilmTube and everything, but this definitely has some moments that if you have any sort of loved one, family member, friend, what have you, that has struggled with this sort of stuff, it's very candid and very just, I'm not going to say graphically shown, but just very matter-of-fact shown, Joel's dad's usage and everything. So, but that's the thing, it's not even a shade of gray, it's like, it's a colorful character. And that he loves his son, but he also has other vices that he loves very much as well. And so, I mean, terrific performances. Joel, as I said, trying to save his father, so to speak. I think that there's one point near the end of the film, and this doesn't spoil anything, but he does say, I get two different responses from people where I'm describing the situation of how I'm, trying to help my dad. They're like, you're doing the Lord's work, or it's the complete polar opposite, and they're like, you're enabling. And so it's very much a rock and a hard place. He's trying to get his dad to go back to rehab, and he's committal about it, and then he's wishy-washy about it, as happens with people who have been entrenched in it, especially as long as his dad has. And so, but there are a lot of really, really sweet moments. One of the framing devices throughout the film is that Joel is trying to film this documentary about his father, about their relationship, with hopes that it will get him to proceed with some self-reflection, maybe more so than he's ever been able to do, because all too often when the camera is pointed at ourselves, it does just cut a little bit deeper and makes that introspection happen and stuff. So, I mean, great chemistry between the two of them, especially just like the way Joel looks at his father, and the way Dakota, the lead actor who plays Joel, just the way that he looks at his dad, man, with just this reverence and this love and this care and this compassion, but also there's like a bittersweetness to the way he looks at him in certain scenes, especially when he knows he's been using, or what have you. So, I mean, yeah, this film cuts deep, man, and I've had friends that have struggled with things of this nature, with addiction of this specific nature, no less. And it's just it's going to hit home for a lot of people, and you could really tell that Harrison, who I'm assuming this is from personal experience with his own father because of some home videos that you see in the end credits, and once again, that's not a spoiler, but this was inspired by his own life experiences with his father, and the casting was pretty spot on with the dad. I mean, Emmanuel, who plays Bode, the father, like, there is an uncanny resemblance. Like, the accent isn't quite the same, at least in some of the home video stuff they show in the end credits and whatnot, but I guess the real thing, without spoiling stuff, as I went into this wondering myself, is, is dad going to get through? Is he going to get clean? Is he going to make it? Is he going to survive? Is he still going to be a work in progress? Is he going to be a casualty of the addiction? These are the questions that, despite the, at times darkly comedic and jovial nature of the film, these are the sort of questions that, as a viewer, I found myself asking constantly. If I was going to give like one of my few gripes about the film, and maybe this is not so much a gripe about the writing, but just maybe a gripe about one character in particular, there is kind of a ultimatum given by one character with Joel at one particular point. And this isn't me spoiling anything. I'm not going to hint as to who it was or what it was or anything, because there's a lot of characters in this that interact with his father. There's Joel's grandmother, Bode's dad. There's Joel's mother, the ex-wife of his father. I mean, there's a number of people in this that are, interacting in the scenario. You've got your couple druggy buddies of Joel's father as well. And so, but there's a character that gives an ultimatum in this movie at one particular point, and I do not think it was very fair. I think it was very selfish of that character. However, you can kind of also see their perspective too about Joel giving so much in this situation and maybe losing sight of other things. So, but that's the problem with having a loved one in this sort of situation, because you do often get a sense of tunnel vision, especially when it's a family member. And I mean, as they say in the synopsis on Fantasia for this film, all too often, you have situations of like children, or just the kids, and even if they're grown children, grown kids, it's the parents trying to save the drug-addicted child in a lot of situations. And yet in this one, the roles are reversed, and so that gives it a very unique semblance of just authenticity, I guess, is the term that I'm searching for here. So, yeah, guys, that is my thoughts on world premiere Tight Lettuce from co-writer and director Harrison Houde, as I mentioned. And yeah, this one definitely got to me, man. And it made me laugh, and it definitely brought back some just personal memories of just witnessing these sort of struggles of people that I deeply cared about. They weren't like direct family members, but close friends, you know. And so definitely hit hard with that. So I extend a grande gracias, everybody. That is once again my thoughts on Tight Lettuce. I've been Jaimé En Fuego. You can find moi on social media sectors: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I do a little bit of the tiki-talkies, but that's mostly just short form reel reviews of stuff, like bigger films out of the theater and whatnot. And yeah, I'm going to be retiring the soccer gear, the football gear, since the Cup, which was played up in the Great White North of Canada here in the States. I'm doing this press virtually in the deadly desert of Arizona. If you are at Fantasia, once again running until August 2nd. So Envioso, especially if you got to see this in theaters. If you got the chance to check this out, or if the filmmakers of this happen to stumble upon this, please comment and like and all that jazz. Y'all know the drill. But yeah, I guess that's gonna do it for my review from day 4. There's still so many more. There's 14 more days of this festival. 2 more weeks, y'all. I am so very stoked, and I still have well over a dozen more films. I'm still reaching out to a few PR people, and yeah, lots more genre, or in this case, just very solid dramatic comedy, or dramedy, as we like to, do the whole Megazord, piecing terms together and whatnot to make a big grander sort of term that simplifies things and, maybe hits a little bit harder as far as just getting the point across, because this is dramatic, and it is quite funny, and it is quite heartwarming a lot of the time, too. So that's going to do it, y'all. Once again, I have been Fuego. Y'all have been Rad Status, and until the reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego. Sin amigos constant viewers, say thank you. I hope we have been well met, and we share more of this cinema palaver sooner rather than later. So yeah, until that transpires, stay tuned for more, and hasta luego.